Amen.
Please rise.
And turn to page 108. And I will do this. Hold on one second. We're going to do the Baruch. La 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 la
Turn to page 110. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvareh choshech oseh shalom uvareh et hakol. And then we continue in English on the bottom.
Praise are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom you formed them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai our God, for the excellent work of your hands, and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. Now we'll go to page 113. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light-blinded we saw, that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one. You spoke, and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'amo Yisrael, We're going to keep you standing for another minute. Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod, Shem Kivod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed. Can you see it? We'll do the Ve'ahavta together. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher haki mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levarecha, vidibarta bam, vishivtecha b'veicha, uletecha b'derech, ushavlecha umecha, ukshatam leot ayatecha, והיו תותפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We are on page 121. And we're going to read responsively at the bottom of 121. The eternal truth is that you alone are God, and there is none else.
May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore.
You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart.
The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Why do you crush my people who oppress the poor? Asks God.
We know that the
Eternal One defends the poor
and upholds the rights of the needy.
Praise to God Most High.
Blessed
Blessed is God and deserving of blessing.
There's another one that's going to come up in the reading there. You'll listen later. So we are now turned to the Micha Mocha.
122.
122. Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedar HaKodesh, Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedar HaKodesh. Shirach Hashtashashichu Goralim L'Shimcha Hayam Hadlu Am Hodu V'Himlechu Ameru Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai Micha Mocha Nedar HaKodesh, Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedar HaKodesh. Noat Hilot Oseh, Noat Hilot Oseh.
Zur Yisrael, Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael, Uvdeknu Mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael. Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, God Yisrael.
Please rise. We're on page 124. Adonai Sefatai Tifta Ufia Kitehiltecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu וזוכר מעשיה פותימות, ומביא כולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מרנן העולם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מושיע רוח ומוריד הגשם, מחיי חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, צומק נופלים ורופא חולים, ומגדיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך על גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך מניד ומחייך, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי העולם.
You can be seated. And now we turn to page 132. Lee, if you would like to read on the bottom, the people of Israel.
The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It's a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed.
Turn to the bottom of page 137. And who's next? Can you read at the bottom of page
Suzanne?
137? Suzanne?
For all things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. Is that, no?
No, page
137.
137.
Oh, wrong page, sorry.
Oh, that sounds
That was
good
good
too.
That was a good one. Whoever was agreeing with
On
sounds
our
great.
on this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer to life, to peace, and to joy. May we find true rest, holiness in our deeds, worth in our study of Torah. Let us feed on the love of goodness. Let us drink from the love of goodness. Restrain our thirst for excess and cleanse our hearts to serve life well. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer in life, in peace, and in joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'orta levadka v'yirah na'avod. And let's take a minute for a silent prayer. On page 140, we'll sing together. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Hein v'chesed v'rachamim. Hein v'chesed v'rachamim. V'rachamim. Sim shalom tova
Torah portion. We're going to have Eileen Heiger come up, and I'm going to go sit down to get out of the way. And let Eileen and Armini lead us through
Good luck.
the learning portion of the service.
Sorry, you're right, so we're not gonna take it out.
No. Well, it's up to you guys. If you want to take it out, you can.
Just gotta get it together. Okay, so today's Torah portion, as we said, is Mishpatim, although which page is that on? In the
Eileen's got it open there.
Etz Chaim. Is everybody clear on the right page?
I'm not sure.
Exodus.
You're not going to want to. You want to?
I know it's
Seems like 479.
Well, we have it.
479.
So they didn't plan. Yeah.
Find 12. That makes sense.
Suzanne would kind of
No,
like
no,
you to
it's
take
okay.
it out.
What?
You want to take
I
it
was
out?
surprised you weren't taking the Torah out, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just decided because there are fewer than 10 people, and,
Now there's time.
oh, there are 10?
There are 10.
I think you guys
Okay.
want to take it out?
Okay, okay.
We don't have to do the whole thing, just. do it.
Rewind.
we should take the photo.
Okey doke.
Okay. Okay, in that case,
Page 244.
page 244 in the prayer
It
books.
seems to be
Here for
a
you.
fairly essential
Me too.
step.
I come all the time, but I have yours too.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay, please rise. Ein kamocha be'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha,
You want someone lifted?
malchutecha b'chol dor Adonai melech, Adonai melech, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai os la'amo yeten, Adonai yivarech amo b'shalom. Mitzion tetzeh Torah, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Uva Adonai b'Yerushalayim.
Emily said, come sit down. Probably not.
Harmonitas.
She can see it, yeah.
We're going to move it up a little bit.
Who cares?
Yeah.
They're reading from the book.
I'm not sorry.
So no one.
Then I'll finish to find the.
We don't need to.
Recover. That's fine.
Please be seated. No?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
After the
sit
tour
down.
is out, we.
Okay, the Torah's out,
We're not going to do the other thing, unless you want to do the Shema, which is
46.
Yeah, you have to do.
Yeah, the Shema. So we do Baruch Shematan Torah,
Which page?
Torah,
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Lamo Yisrael, B'kedushato, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadu Adonai.
Rama Shemo Yavdah, Lecha Adonai Hagidu, V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Ha'or, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Lecha Adonai Ha'Malecha, Ve'Bayit Na'aseh Lechol Lerosh.
Now the Torah is unread. So that,
Emily, close the ark.
Oh, sorry.
The curtains.
I got it. No, you don't need to do
See, this is where we need a tutorial on
I know.
how to do the service.
And now it's all being recorded that we all just said that too.
And we're doing fine.
We're doing great. We're doing great.
That's right.
We're doing great. It's all learning.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvara. Baruch Adonai Hamvara Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Vayomer Adonai El Moshe.
Where are we? Page what?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's
sorry, okay.
page.
Page 479? Wait, exactly
The
where are
Mishpah
we?
team starts it earlier than that. Are
But you
you?
may not be reading.
Oh, that's right.
4, hold on.
We're doing triennial.
Is it 479?
Where's Mishpah team end?
20, where's it end? Is it near the end?
Yeah, I'm at the very end.
Oh, at the end of Mishpatim,
Okay.
Line
Yomer
12.
Adonai.
Right.
Line 12, page 479, Exodus 24:12.
Thank you. Vayomer Adonai El Moshe. Hold on. El Moshe alei alai hahara v'haye sham v'etna l'cha et lucho ha'evan v'hatorah v'hamitzvah asher katavti lehoratam. V'yakam Moshe el har I'm sorry. V'yakam Moshe v'hashehu misharto v'a'al Moshe el har ha'elohim v'el hazkenim amar shvu lanu v'zeh ad asher nashuv Aleichem v'hine Aharon v'hur umachem mi ba'al divarim yagesh o aleichem. V'ya'al Moshe el hahar v'yakas Ha'anan et Hahar. Vayishkon kivod Adonai al Har Sinai v'yakasehu
Next sentence down, yeah.
v'yakasehu
Anan.
okay. Anan Sheshet Yamim Vayikra El Moshe Bayom Hashvi'i Mitok Ha'anan Mitok Ha'anan V'mar'e Kavod Adonai Ke'esh Ochalet Barosh Hahar La'enei B'nei Yisrael. V'yav Moshe b'toch Teha'anan v'a'al el hahar v'yehi Moshe bahar arba'im yom v'araba'im laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה. Amen.
Just lay the cover over the top. Yeah.
Yes.
And then we can do the Mishnah there.
Get this list.
Get the Mishnah.
Oops, sorry. Oops. Okay. Thank you. That was nice. Mishbeach.
And I just want to say that the portion that I read is when Moses goes up to Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights, and is supposed to come back with the 10 Commandments. And he gave all these laws to the people prior to going up to Mount Sinai.
Thank you, Eileen. That was beautiful.
Yasher Koach.
Yasher Koach. Yes. Okay, so in the presence of the Torah, we will sing the Misha Berach, and first we will read the list of names that I have here, and then if anybody has names that they would, anybody else that they know who is in need of prayers of healing. So we pray for Carol DeVore, Joe Falick, Linda Feinblatt, Roger Ford, Barry Gordon, Earl Hecker, Sherry Kotzenhauber, Merle Hirschland, Richard Hitau, Steve Keating, Sally Keaton, Emily Nagonkar, Melinda Saulson, Marilyn Webb, Judy Zimmerman, and those impacted by the shooting at Michigan State University. Anybody else in the room want to add any more names?
Rachel, Nachman, Cindy, many other people on my list, and all the people of Turkey and Syria and the earthquake.
Here, here.
Hassan Almir, Yasmin Aftab, Tal Hazak Lowy.
Grace and Dale.
Judy and Charlene.
Barbara Murphy.
Okay. For all of those, we will now say the Misha Berach. Misha Berach, Avoteinu, Mikorah, Avoteinu, the source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekorah leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Somebody can come up to maybe sit with the Torah right here while we redress it, if somebody can come up to do that. Go right here. So if you want to help redress it, what?
Sure.
We can, yeah.
Bring your stuff.
Okay.
You can put it in the stand too, I mean,
Yeah, you can do that either way.
stand
There's
dress
nothing
it,
in the way
it's
here.
easier to do it that way.
Is this ours?
Yeah, that goes on.
That's beautiful.
Can you put it on there?
Eileen, I should have put it on the stand for you, then I put it on the stand.
Yeah, but
That's their cover.
you're waiting there.
First the breastplate.
Oh, the breastplate? Yeah.
First the breastplate.
Well, first the breastplate.
First the
The
breastplate.
breastplate goes on both.
Then the
The yad?
Yeah, on the right side, the yad goes on the right, and then the two huchis on top.
And then it's not Talmudim.
Punching it. He's like, sit
Okay,
down.
so now,
That's pretty
now? Now you tell me. Well, should we just leave this out?
That's it.
Yeah, we can put it away, we can
Okay.
actually put it
We
away.
have
Vezot-
hakafah, don't we?
Yeah, well, again.
Are we doing a hakafah?
Eventually.
We need somebody to pick it up and carry it
I'll
around.
be-
Either one
Oh,
of
you
us.
do the hakafah on the end?
Or you can do that. Because we're not doing the haftarah, so we're just,
Oh,
this is where we're
so
at.
we're getting ready to put the Torah
Yeah.
away? Okay, so we're gonna do the hakafah.
So we again, it's
Page 252, Vezot Torah, right?
252.
Is it?
Nope, it's,
No?
yes, it is.
Okay, so everybody
So,
stands?
if you could stand.
Please rise. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, are we gonna discuss?
We will, but we're
That
gonna put
comes
it away
later?
first. We're gonna put it away.
Okay, okay. Vezot Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Israel. Al pi Adonai v'yam Moshe. La 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 la.
Al Shosha Devarim, Al Shosha Devarim, Al Shosha Devarim, Haolam Omeid, Al HaTorah ve'al Havodah, ve'al Gemilut Hasadim, Al HaTorah ve'al Havodah, ve'al Gemilut Hasadim.
You have to start the Italian key.
Okay,
You want to do the Italian one? Yeah. That's close.
that's good.
Close enough.
Sign.
Please be seated. Asking.
What?
Please be seated.
Go ahead.
I'm working on it.
It's Hayim Yi. 256.
Ma'asikima ve'ochera miushar darchei darchei ve'ontivoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Hashivecha Nashuva Hadesh Hadesh Yameinu Hadesh Yameinu Ketem.
So, I looked at, I'm going to just talk about Mishpatim for just a second. And just to talk for a minute about rules and rituals related to religion. The 3 R's, I guess. That's right. In many ways, this Torah portion and the one from last week are a lawyer's dream, because they're combined with last week's portion, because they're talking about setting up a system of, last week we talked about setting up basically a system of lower and appellate courts. And then this portion consists primarily of long lists of do's and don'ts and prescribed punishments for breaking rules and all those things that we lawyers like a lot. So I thought that was kind of funny. In fact, this portion contains a lot of the really big, well-known hits, like an eye for an eye and treat the stranger well since you yourselves have been strangers in the land of Egypt, which we read earlier this morning. Don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. And it includes directions about resting on the seventh day of the week and leaving gleanings from the fields when you're doing all that kind of stuff, all the big, the big hits that a lot of us know. And there's a lot of stuff you can talk about in terms of the rules and what you're supposed to do. But for me, after reading this portion and reading some other summaries on it, rather than focusing on any one or two of the rules or the guides or whatever, it got me thinking just about the concept of rules in religion in general, and about interpretation of rules in Judaism overall and in Reform Judaism in particular. So it could be argued that ultimately all religion is about imposing rules, or rules about how to act and interact with each other in the world at large, rituals for worship and for perpetuating the concepts espoused by religion, whatever religion you're talking about. And religion offers guidance about what should or could happen to someone who doesn't follow the rules. In Mishpatim, there's lines saying things like, if you follow all these rules that I'm laying down, nobody's going to have miscarriages, and nobody's going to be sick. And there were other ones about how you've got to follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules, you don't get to go into the promised land. And in some religions, the rules are used like carrots or sticks to get people to behave for fear of eternal punishment, or for, receiving eternal bliss, or, whatever version of that any one particular religion comes up with. And here's the thing, for me at least, rules can be really helpful, and I'm actually a big rule follower. I like the rules, and I'm pretty good about wanting to make sure I follow them, but they can also be really problematic, depending upon how they're interpreted and how they're imposed on people. And I like to think that one of the reasons that some people, and arguably a lot of people, I think, don't like organized religion a lot of the time is specifically because of the imposition of rules, or more specifically, the imposition of rules without context. It's kind of like, this is the way it must be done, and that's it, right? And without any sort of ability to think about the situation. And rules, especially in the form of religious rituals, they can be really helpful at times, particularly in times of chaos or crisis. A great example of this are the rituals surrounding the death of a loved one, where in the midst of all that chaos and all that loss, and you don't really know what you're supposed to do, and you're feeling at wit's end, the rituals surrounding the funeral, the burial, for us, the Shiva, whatever, again, fill in whatever religion and whatever rituals there are, the mourning process, they give you an impetus for moving forward, to get up the next morning and go, whatever it is, go meet the funeral home, at the funeral home, talk to the rabbi, whatever it may be, and they give you something to focus on in the immediate aftermath of that crisis. And they also allow the family to function without needing to make big decisions, right? I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to come up with a way to do a funeral or to deal with someone who's died. I can just look up and say, okay, the thing I do is I go over there and I talk to this person and I get this thing and we set this up. And it just gives me a roadmap to follow. And for people who don't adhere to any particular religious or ritual tradition of some sort, that process becomes even more trying as a result of that. And Josh had a colleague for whom that was really, really difficult when an infant son of his died, and he didn't have a tradition to follow. And so, first, how horrible that is in the first place, to lose a child, and then to have no at least something to say, hey, try this. Think about doing this to get you moving forward. It just makes it that much worse. So they're helpful. Those kinds of things are helpful, but they can also be really problematic, most particularly when viewed and imposed from the point of view of fundamentalism or strict orthodoxy, like pronouncements that declare that unless you follow these rules, your life will be less than, or it should be, or could be, or in sometimes you as a person are less than. If you don't follow, you're not worthy as a human being if you don't follow these rules. And that gets transformed into things like Christians saying Jews will be damned eternally because we haven't accepted their Christ, or whatever it may happen to be. Or even, frankly, for some Jews looking at other Jews and saying you're not a good Jew because you don't keep kosher, because you turn on a light switch on Saturday, or whatever. And that's one of the things I like about Reform Judaism, for me, is that we allow for interpretation of the rules within the parameters of our current situation. And we recognize the need for guidance, and for all this, these sort of lane markers, if you will, but we also recognize the importance of context. So we can read this week's Torah portion, which has stuff in it about how you should deal with your slaves, right? And whether or not who you should keep, and whether or not you get to keep their kids, and all that stuff. And it talks about rules regarding your multiple wives or other things that are clearly not relevant in our current context, are not rules that we even want to consider having to deal with, but we can still interpret all of that through a modern lens and think about what's there and within where we're sitting, and guided by some core beliefs and focus on, interpretation. And when we go and read this portion next year, we'll go and look at them again through whatever context we're sitting in next year, right? And go through the process again and again. And the greatest hits are likely to still be around and relevant and important, because frankly, that's what makes them greatest hits. They have some longevity, they remain relevant over the course of various and sundry things. And frankly, this reinterpretation and reconsideration of the rules, which is a fundamental concept of Reform Judaism, that's what reform means, right? We keep thinking and reforming. Arguably, it really is a fundamental concept of Judaism as a whole. I always think about when we're at Passover and we're reading all these things and say, well, one year the rabbis said this meant, the sandwich meant this, and the next year it meant stand on one foot and eat the sandwiches, and then some other food, which is really what Reform Judaism does all the time, right? That's what the Talmud does all the time. Everybody keeps thinking and thinking and thinking. And that, to me, is one of the things that's cool about Judaism, is that we're willing to think and reconsider and understand where we are in context. And that allows us to continue to fulfill the rules. We're going to go on just right now and fulfill the rules of Shabbat worship and taking the Torah out and doing all these other types of things, which is one of the things that's mentioned in Mishpatim, right? All that stuff. And we can do it the way we do it here at Kol Ami. And it's not exactly the same as what they're doing down the hall, right? Or down the street at Shir Shalom. But it's all fulfilling that instruction today, that's in the thing today that says, make the seventh day a little bit special. So I think that's kind of cool. So that's what I was thinking about when I read this. So there you go. And so we'll continue our little tradition here, and what we do here.
You know what's interesting, Emily, is the balance between tradition and rules.
Yep.
And that has to do with changing with the context, including tradition, even if it's not a direct interpretation of the rule.
Exactly.
So anyway.
Well, it's true, and it's also funny that what happens is sometimes tradition becomes a rule.
Yeah.
Right? You have to do it this way. There's that old joke of everybody's got an interpretation of this, where your grandmother, you go in and you watch your grandmother getting the brisket ready, and you watch her and she goes and cuts off the little corner of the brisket and throws it away and puts it in the pot. And somebody finally says, well, why did you? Well, my mother did that. Why did my mother do it? And you go down the line and you find out that the reason that the first person who did it was because her pot, it didn't fit in her pot, so she threw it away.
So that's a rule?
And over the years, it becomes, you gotta throw it away. Over the years, it's like, because I did it because my mother said I had to do that. And the only reason I had to do it was because in context, it was important.
It had to fit in the pot.
It had to fit in the pot.
You go over and you say, Grandma, why did you do it? And then the grandma says, because the pot was too small, I needed it to fit in the pot.
Exactly. And then we suddenly think, oh my gosh, it's horrible if you don't cut the end off the brisket, but it's not necessarily wrong. In context, it fits in my pot, I'm okay. That's it. So now we're going to turn to Aleinu on page 282. We can stand to do this, please.
We do.
Page 282 of Good Rise.
Aleinu b'shabbat manon hakol L'teit gilano Bereshit Shelo asanu kigoye haratzon V'lo shamanu kishkol hadama Shelo sam hakenu kahem V'gor aleinu v'kol ha'onam V'nachnu korim Umishakol Ani Modim Lifnei Melech Elohim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'ne'emar V'haya Adonai Melech HaKol Haaretz Vayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad.
You can be seated.
We turn to page 292. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear, but if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. The psalmist said that in his affliction, he learned the law of God, and in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as, in their higher moments, they themselves wish to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. As we all know, this week, there was the horrible tragedy, senseless gunning down of students at Michigan State University, and I'd like to read a poem in their memory. This is by Amanda Gorman, America's inaugural National Youth Poet Laureate. Schools scared to death. The truth is, one education under desks, stooped low from bullets that plunge when we ask where our children shall live and how and if.
Your list is ready.
At this time, we mourn the losses in the last 30 days for our members and all victims of violence here and around the world. What's this?
I don't think we have any recent deaths. We have these are the more recent deaths. I have no idea. Don't know. I think it's how many weeks you have to read them. so it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so recent deaths that we, folks that we remember: Gordon Edward Schechter, great-nephew of Suzanne Levin; Yosef ben Avraham, father of Barry Rudnick; Joseph Feinstein, husband of Brenda Brooke; Charles Marvin Oventhal, brother of Brenda Saperstein; and those three that were killed at Michigan State: Brian Fraser, Ariel Anderson, and Alexandra Werner. In addition, we remember those whose yahrzeit is this week: William Aarons, Charles Dodge, Ruth Dodge, Esther Faber, Emma Friedman, Sylvia Golden, Pauline Gorman, Jack Leo Gubkin, Harry Katzman, Selden Koblin, Gloria Little, Janet Davis Lynn, Sarah Osher, Bernard Roman, Frank Schechter, Joseph Schechter, Ben Schottenfels, and Phyllis Siegel.
Does anybody have anybody else to add?
I'd like to add the name of this gentleman, Moses Elisaf. I learned about his death this morning. He was the practicing physician, professor of medicine, leader of the Jewish community in Yanina, Greece, and the mayor of the city, the first Jewish mayor of a city in modern Greece. And when I was there in October, we went to that we were in that congregation. He came and met with us specially, even though he had just met with the president of Greece, because the next day was the national holiday, and the president was coming to their city to honor it. And he was only 68 years old, and he had a very brief bout of cancer, and our group just shared the fact that he had died. Really a
So we add
very
his name
special
to our
man.
list.
And I would also sadly like to add the fact that this morning when I read in the paper, there was another mass shooting. And here's the sad part is, and I can't even tell you where, I know 6 people died. And
In a town of 294.
in a very, very small town. And I remember sending a note earlier this week to a colleague of mine who lost his mother, and he was reaching out expressing concern about our son Eddie in East Lansing and so forth. And I said, yeah, that one hit a little close to home, and I left it in there, that hit a little close to home, but I was thinking, why does that matter?
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, we've spent some time on the 3 at Michigan State and the other 5 that were injured, but 6 other people died to mass shootings, you know, since that time.
This week.
Mississippi. So we
Yeah, it
should,
was
we should have
Mississippi.
those folks in our thoughts as well.
And there was the one
Thank you.
in Texas in the same week.
Yeah, it's just.
The 3 or whatever, yeah.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
as is our tradition at Temple Colony, we rise in one voice and we say the mourner's cottage together.
294.
Page 294.
Yitgadal v'yishkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma v'yirak yirutei v'yamim malkutei, v'chayei kon v'yomei kon, v'chayei v'kol beit Yisrael, v'hagala v'zman kariv v'yiru amen, yehei shemei Rabbah mibarach le'olam almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpalar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaled v'yitalal shemei d'Kdusha b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, daliran v'yomah v'yimru amen, yehei shalom rabba m'shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen, oseh shalom b'imromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yakol Yoshvei Tevel v'yimru amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us all and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
So you can sit down for a minute, please. And it so happens that Arminate is the announcements reader.
Before you do that.
Yes.
Roxanne from B'nai Israel they have bagels and lox and cream cheese and fruit, and they're about to end it. So as soon as we're done, anyone who wants to can eat there.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of them. Okay, so, well, I'd like to go through a few thank yous before we get into the announcements. Thank you, Emily, did a fantastic job.
Yay!
Co-leading with me and helping to organize the outline for us. Eileen Yishar Koach, thank you for reading Torah this morning.
Good job.
And for Gersh in the back for streaming, making sure that those online can participate. Thank you, Yishar Koach. Okay, so.
And Leck.
And Leck, thank you for helping set up in the back, sure. And okay, so,
Absolutely.
this week, we have our next rabbinic candidate scheduled for coming in for interviews. So same schedule that we've been following in the past weeks. Tuesday, February 21st, 7 p.m. for a meet and greet. Wednesday, February 22nd for a learning session. Please RSVP to the office if you'd like to attend or if you need to get the Zoom link for the Wednesday night. Okay, don't forget to sign up for our February member Shabbat lunch, which will be held next Shabbat after services, having lunch at George's Restaurant on Northwestern Highway. Everybody knows where that is. Everybody's invited. Contact Cynthia Katz if you have any questions or you wish to attend.
Or Steve Merritt.
Or Steve Merritt, if you wish to attend, so we can have enough spots there. Our next TKA/B'nai Israel program is about the Jewish community in America, which is facing intense demographic and social pressures. As we all know, we look at the trends, impactful ways to increase Jewish engagement, and how these issues touch us personally. It's going to be an interesting program, right? Are our kids and our kids' kids and their kids going to be Jewish? What does our future look like? So that's on Sunday, February 26th here at Temple. Refreshments at 10:30 with the program beginning at 11. Please RSVP to our very own Steve Merritt. Next program, learn what resilience is, the difference between crisis response and long-term therapeutic care, how to ask for help, and how to respond to someone asking for help. This presentation is intended for teens and adults in their lives, such as parents, guardians, and educators. It's a discussion about suicide awareness and prevention, which is being presented by Rabbi Yarden Blumstein of the Friendship Circle, our very own Gersh Blumstein's son, and will take place on Sunday, February 26th at 6 p.m. at Temple. No RSVP is required. Rabbi Denker's next adult ed class is coming up on Monday, February 27 at 7 p.m. This month's topic is Observing Shabbat as Reformed Jews, as we're doing today. The class will be on Zoom. RSVP to the office to get the Zoom link. And last but not least, calling for Purim Pantry Pasta Groggers. One of the mitzvot
Excuse me, could you
That's
repeat?
why I'm glad I
say that fast, 4 times.
Exactly.
Purim Pantry Pasta Groggers. One of the mitzvot of Purim is making sure that everyone can celebrate the holiday with a feast without shame. Uphold this mitzvah by donating rice or pasta boxes to fill our food pantry shelves. Leave the food in the sova box or in the front. The sova box in the front out here, or in the pantry shelves in the social hall. Please bring a pasta box to the Purim Spiel on March 6th to use as a grogger.
I think that's
And
it.
with that,
Shabbat shalom.
we wish everybody Shabbat Shalom.
So-
Thank you for being
Well, we
here.
were going to sing one last song, which seems appropriate, especially with everything we were just talking about before, which is just to sing Oseh Shalom one more time. So we can do that. So. Oseh Shalom Bimroma, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for bearing with us and for helping